speak one of my PCs. So PCC is VLAN.
That's not one.
30. PCE. VLAN 40. PCE is VLAN 20. PCF is VLAN 7. Okay. All right, I think I'm set up. There you go. And do I need that IP address? So,
No, they'll be DHCP. You technically won't know the right IP addresses.
and I have to set the DHCP.
No,
No,
we've already done that on our
I
layer.
don't have to do it on my phone.
No, the layer 2 switches don't support DHCP.
Do I have to?
Layer 3.
And that's not the helper address either. That's the,
No,
I keep confusing the router on the stick and this. People want me to cancel the.
yeah, but now on layer 2, they don't have DHCP capability. It would just be like these two.
Where's my Cali?
All right, you wanna double check this, make sure we're all set up? So I'm about 90% sure that I have everything in right. Domains in, BTY lines are done. I should probably do passwords. Yeah, I put all the basic domains in. I just do that at the very end.
Yeah,
So you don't have to keep typing it in.
million passwords.
Oh my god. Standing true, which is good, being an interface port channel. And I'm just really 30, 40, 20, 10. These two need to switch around. Which two? 4 and 3.
Well,
And then gigabits, which is both on trunk, it's a part of the ether channel. Low desirable, being at 99, people gateway. Not true, but it doesn't matter. It's both fire. Oh, the description's wrong. Yeah.
So,
It's
I'm looking for my Kali virtual machine. Actually, I found it, but the virus protection looks inside the virtual machine, sees the attack tools, and then goes, "No, you don't belong here." and I keep forgetting to whitelist the folder that the Kali virtual machine is in, so that it would stop doing.
Vendor is looking through it and doing that.
This one is I think it will also, but I'm using, oh shoot, I blanked out. No, it is just Windows Defender doing it.
The only other thing is the banner MOTD is.
All right.
Just. The two fast interface.
Well, let's see if we got a new version anyway. Have you ever downloaded Kali before?
No.
Okay, so Kali.org is the site that creates the installer and or the virtual machines with Kali Linux already on there. Yeah, don't do that on campus. It'll be blocked.
Oh,
Usually.
I don't know, I just VPN into my house.
Yeah, that's the way around it.
I don't know.
But
There's been a few sites that I've been on that say like, yeah, we're not gonna let you on here because there's some illegal stuff. It's like, no, I know it's not illegal. It's just you guys don't like it. Just trying to grab Blu-ray disc keys so I can watch movies on my computer. Sorry.
But if you've not used Kali before, it is a Linux distribution that has a lot of the tools already incorporated into it. So it's worth checking out. All right, so. Oops. All right. So, almost ready to get started.
That's using the ring board.
That's what he was saying. All right.
I fixed the band.
Yes. Three. Well, I'm switching it to what? My fast ether. 3 is gonna go to. He's gonna switch for the VLAN number. So that's gonna be 10 and then 20. Yep. So you might have to go in and tell it no switch port and then let him reset it. And do that on both. No switch port. And just take notes on it. And
All right, so let me get started then. So the next section in the competition has to do with password cracking. And one of the things that I'm doing up here is downloading a virtual machine of the Kali Linux operating system. Kali Linux is a distribution that has a lot of the investigative, forensics, and offensive tools built into it. So that instead of, I need this tool, I got to find it, download it, install it. It's already there. And so if you are interested in getting it for yourself and running a virtual machine on your own computer, I don't recommend using it as your primary operating system. If you like using Linux, because it's not always a great, it's not meant for day-to-day use with the typical Office suite of types of applications. It is pretty focused. But if you go to kali.org, go to download. I should start to record this for those that can't join.
just need hashtag for it in.
Yeah. And probably won't even need most of that.
I've already got hashtags.
Yeah. So download. If you're wanting to install it bare metal or to create a virtual machine from scratch, you know, create the VM, load the ISO or attach the ISO, install the operating system. You can do that by downloading the installer image, but they have pre-created the virtual machine for you, which is definitely simpler. And so you go to virtual machines, depending on which version you have, as far as the hypervisor, if you're using VMware, VirtualBox, or QEMU, download the appropriate version. Excuse me. So I've already downloaded the VMware version since that's what we're using. So it'll come down in a 7-zip file, extract that. So if you have a virtual machine, you can open it in one of two ways. If you go to the folder, you can find the .vmx file, and it should be the only file in the folder that has these 3 overlapping squares. And you can double click on that, and it'll open it up within VMware. Otherwise, from within VMware, you can tell it to open a virtual machine and drill down to the appropriate folder. Either way works. Let's see. Since my machine has the memory, I am going to boost the amount of RAM. That way, when I'm trying to do things, it has more power. So I'm actually gonna bump it up to 8. since these machines have 16 in the room. Processors, I'll leave the same. Network address or network adapter. I'm just going to leave it as NAT. There's no reason for me to switch it over right now. And I'm going to fire that up in the background. Yeah. Say what? No, I'll just do what?
Did you UI have rounded corners?
On Kali or on VMware?
Yeah. Or am I just blind?
No, it has rounded corners at the top.
Huh.
All right.
I thought it
I
was
never really
blind.
paid attention to that. Yeah,
Is it just VMware?
yeah, because my other folders are all squared off.
Huh.
All right. I dig it. All right, so
I think that's ugly.
to log into the virtual machine, it's just the password and the username and password are both Kali. If you use older versions of Kali, 2019, I think, and older, it would be root as the username and root spelled backwards, TOOR as the password.
This got saved before. And again, have default password.
Which is why they stopped doing that and went to this Kali. All right, so here's this Kali virtual machine. Before we get into the competition stuff, I just want to kind of give a brief tour of this. So if you go into the top left corner and go to the drop down or the start menu, you'll notice that there are a variety of different categories that they show here: information gathering, vulnerability analysis, etc. It sounds an awful lot like the categories within the competition. Not surprisingly, if you want to try and use the manual tools to solve some of the challenges, you might need to go to the corresponding sections that you find in this drop-down list. So like when you're doing web analysis, well, the web analysis tools would be right here. And so for each of these categories, there'll be any number of different tools that pop up on the menu on the right-hand side. Some more than others. Some categories have more things than others. And by no means are we going to be going into all of these. Actually, in here, I tend to use the online tools simply because they have the processing power on the back end that as soon as you drop the file in there or the code or the syntax, you've got the answer. When you're doing it manually, you can still get the information that you're looking for, but it may take a little bit longer. And since this is a competition, speed may make a difference, so that you can get through more questions and get more points. But yeah, so we'll be playing with some of these as we go through the competition. For now, I'm going to minimize that and open up the browser again. All right, so we've been through open source, cryptography. Now we're into password cracking. And we've got 5 different categories, easy through hard. You know, I said I was I'm done. I was done with the Kali. I'm going to go back to it for a second. What I wanted to do is I want to show you. So for password cracking, the tried and true tool that a lot of people use is called Hashcat. It's within this it's within this Linux distribution already, but you can also download and install it onto a Windows machine as well. So you're not required to use Linux in order to Hashcat. There are some things that we'll go into that are absolutely easier in Linux than they are within Windows, but That's okay. We'll get to that later. But when it comes down to password attacks, some of the tools that we might wind up using are Crunch, Hashcat, John or John the Ripper, Offcrack. And what these tools do is they enable you to do different types of password attacks. So in that realm, okay, how many of you are in 265 currently? Not yet? Not yet? Okay. So some of this will be hopefully be reviewed. So when it comes, excuse me, when it comes to doing password cracking, you can do a dictionary attack, you can do a brute force attack, or you can do a hybrid of the two of them. Now, a dictionary attack is like it sounds. You have these massive lists of words that are possible passwords that that the engine is going to use to see if that's the actual password. In order to crack a password using a dictionary, though, that means that the password has to be in that dictionary. So that's one of the reasons why when it comes to cyber hygiene and safety, the recommendation is you don't use passwords that are just very basic and common words, that you use strong passwords that are a definite mix of numbers, lowercase letters, uppercase letters, and special characters. And that's not leet speak where you're just replacing an I with an exclamation point or an A with an at. Those are pretty simple to get around. But if you have if you've ever used a password manager that, or any website that suggests a password, it's almost always just a random string of characters, because those random strings of characters are not going to show up in a password list most likely. So password lists are pretty fast because it's a simple, here's the word in the list, put it in, works, great. No, on to the next word, and so on. But again, the limitation is if it's not in there, you don't get the password. So then there's a brute force attack, which is the engine, whether it's John the Ripper, Hashcat, or whatever, it will try all possible combinations of numbers, letters, lower and upper, special characters in order to figure out what the password is. So for example, let's say it started with numbers. So the first password that it tries is 0. That didn't work. Okay, 0, 0. Or actually 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 1, 0, or 0, 0, 1, 0, 1, 1, etc., etc. But all possible combinations of ones and zeros. Well, that didn't work. Let's try letters. A, lowercase a, uppercase a, 2 lowercase a's, etc., etc. Okay. If you've got a real short password, no big deal. You'll get it without too much effort. But if you've got, so how many characters are the university passwords up to now? 12 or 15? I'll know in a little while because I'm getting the messages saying your password is getting ready to expire. Change your password. Yeah, I know it's at least 12. I didn't know if it had gone up. So if you've got a string of 12 characters, all random letters and numbers and characters, and you're doing a brute force attack, it's going to take significantly longer for something to crack that, unless you've got an awful lot of horsepower. But eventually, it will get it. So what about a combination of the two? Well, if you think about people that you know, hopefully, well, maybe yourselves, but people that you know, their passwords are going to be things like Let's say something as simple as their kid's name. Okay, well, that's no good. That's just a name. So I'm going to add a 1 to it, a 0 at the end of it, maybe 2 numbers at the end of it. Does that sound familiar? Does that sound like anything that you've heard people do? Yeah, most likely, yes. So, all right, well, in that case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a word list, and then I'm going to do a hybrid attack where, okay, for this word list, start by adding all possible combinations of numbers, 2-digit numbers in front of it. No, okay, two-digit numbers behind, maybe 3-digit numbers behind. You're going to catch those people then that simply add a few numbers on one or the other side of a regular word. So that would be an example of a hybrid attack. Now, there is one more kind of attack that I didn't mention, which is a rainbow table attack. So when we were dealing with the ciphers, the cryptography section, it was a pretty straightforward, if I know the cipher that's being used or the algorithm that's being used, if I know what the encrypted information is, I can just put it through the algorithm in reverse and I get the password. It's not that simple with passwords, because the hashing algorithms that they use, you take this clear text password, you put it into the hashing algorithm, and then you get this output. But it only works pretty much one way if you don't have all the pieces. So guessing the passwords or figuring out the passwords is not as straightforward as it was with the cryptography section. So what the rainbow tables do is they've taken these massive word lists or password lists and then fed them into the various hashing algorithms that are used for passwords and stored all of those in a table. Why? Well, so one way of approaching password cracking would be, okay, here's this first entry in a dictionary list. I put it through an MD5 hash. I get the output hash from that. I compare that to the hash that's in the file that I discovered. If it's a match, I know that that's the password. But I had to go through the process of figuring out passwords, running it through the hashing algorithm, making the comparison. The rainbow table has already done the hashing of the passwords. So all you have to do is, okay, what's the hash that you have? Does it match a hash that I've already processed? If that's a match, I know exactly what the password is already. So they've done all that calculation part of it ahead of time. It is a much, much faster way of trying to get passwords. Of course, again, it's still only as good as the entries into that rainbow table. So why don't we all do rainbow tables? Well, the file sizes of the rainbow tables, well, okay, so if you think about the files that you have on your computer, yeah, sure, most are probably in the meg size, maybe some in the kilobyte size, depending on what it is. You might have some things that are in the gig size. Yeah, here's a gig, 2 gigs, 3 gigs, whatever. These tables are in the hundreds of gigs or terabytes in size, easily. And so, one, it's taking forever to download these rainbow tables onto your computer. Oh, but I've got this virtual machine. The virtual machine only has this much storage that I assigned to it. So I need to put it on an external drive and then map the external drive to my virtual machine in order to access all of that rainbow table to try and crack the password. Absolutely. Will it work? Yeah, it will. So that is the overview of how password cracking can work if you're doing it from scratch manually. And so within Kali, again, you can use Hashcat. And I'm going to just going to show a little bit about Hashcat for now. We'll be coming back to it later. So those of you that have not done 265 yet, have you done the Linux class 221? You're in it right now? No, not yet. Okay. So, okay. Hashcat is the executable. I'm in Linux. I want to find out more information about it. So I can look at the manual file for Hashcat. Oops, helps if you spell it right. The maddening thing about Linux is unless you type it in exactly right, it's entirely wrong.
And that includes cap.
Absolutely. Capitalization absolutely matters.
For whatever reason, people can't agree on start with the capital letter and you start with the lowercase letter.
Well, and the capitalization also has different meanings sometimes.
Scrolling through, some of those things are just pages. And
Oh, yeah.
pages.
And this is one of them, but there's some interesting stuff here. So, I'm in the manual for Hashcat, and I just want to go down to, I want to get past this stuff. So what's going by are the different arguments or switches associated with the Hashcat executable. So when you think about syntax or the words that you use to run this, it is, for this particular tool, it's always going to start with the name of the executable, Hashcat, and then you follow that up with arguments. Basically, you're defining what you want to do. So I'll go into those more in a bit. But what I was wanting to do, it's taking forever. There's a lot of stuff to this. It's a powerful tool, and as such, it has a lot of arguments and variables.
Specific argument we're going to use most out of any of them? Or?
Yeah, the type of attack that you use, the hashing algorithm that you use. Those are the two biggest things that you always have to put in. And then there are other things as needed. All right, so. Not as worried about the output format. No, I'm not worried about output formats because with what we're doing, pretty much we're going to take what's on the screen and copy it and paste it into the competition. But if you are doing this on contract, you are hired to do a vulnerability assessment, a pen test, then you would document everything. All right, so I mentioned a brute force attack where you're using combinations of numbers and letters. You may need to define, well, if you don't define anything, it will try to do all of those things. But you might be given a clue saying that it's a number string, and that's all. So you can rule out letters, you can rule out special characters and limit it just to numbers. So that's what this section right here is doing, is built-in character sets. So if I use, for example, if I know that it's just numbers, I would use the question mark D. If I knew it was numbers in lowercase letters, question mark lowercase h. And here's where that capitalization matters. If I wanted it to be capital letters and numbers, question mark capital H, and so on and so on. So you would need to go through, pick the thing that is most appropriate for what you're trying to find and use it accordingly. All right, attack mode. So straight would be a dictionary attack. Combination, hybrid, brute force attack, hybrid wordless with mask, and so on. You're usually going to use these three. And then here's where things get a little scary. Hash types. Okay, MD5. A lot of things use MD5. SHA, And then it starts to get into different applications. So MySQL, you mean I can hack MySQL password? Yeah. You can, let's see what else is interesting. WPA, WPA2, where's that come from? What's that?
Android bit.
It's bigger than Android. No, I'm gonna say no for a reason.
Server behind it, but
No. So he's pointing at the access point on the ceiling. These, so WPA and WPA2 are almost entirely consumer grade wireless encryption protocols. So when you are logging into your access point at home, in your apartment, in your house, wherever, chances are it's using WPA, WPA2, where the password is stored. It's a single passphrase that's stored on the access point.
Yeah.
Do any of you use a password manager? Just stores all of your passwords for everything.
I have it.
Oh God.
I have it in like my iPhone, like through my cloud.
So you've got, okay. Well, there's a number of different tools out there that will do this for you.
I just like uses my face, like my face
Mhm.
ID.
You're using the built-in in the iPhone.
Mhm.
Yeah. Let's see. Password safe. I know I saw LastPass in here, or at least it used to be in here. And the reason why I bring that up is because that's the one that I use. So that means if somebody were to get a hold of my phone or to get into my computer that I've got LastPass installed on, and they got the password file, using Hashcat, potentially they could decrypt that, log in, and have access to all of my passwords. So Hashcat is one of those tools that is potentially scary if used inappropriately. Yeah. All right. So that's enough of that. Let's get back to the competition. All right. So if we go into the easy category, our analysts have obtained password dumps storing hacker passwords. After obtaining a few plain text passwords, it appears that they overlap with the passwords from the RockU breach. So the RockU breach, well, so RockU was a company and hackers got in, stole their password lists, and then made that password list public.
Exactly was Rocky.
I don't remember what the company did because they didn't last long after this.
So this was their downfall pretty much.
Yeah. But since that list went so public, it has become kind of the generic go-to word lists when you're teaching password cracking, because it's something that if you were in that affected by that RockU breach, you should have changed your password to something better. And so yeah, we use it to figure things out. All right, so let me pull up something else also. So I'm going to show you the long way of finding the answer. So I'm going to go into my Kali Linux. And I'm gonna open up the browser and I'm gonna log into the competition from in here. That way I can just copy and paste, oops, from the browser.
Rocky develops widgets for MySpace and implements applications for various social networks and Facebook.
Okay. All right. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do this manually, like I said. The first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create a file. Let's see, I'll call it pass one. Actually, I want to rename it. So that it lines up with the categories in the competition. So I'm going to title it crack one. And I want to paste in, copy and paste in all of these hashes. Because the tool can do one password at a time, or it can do an entire list. I might as well be efficient and have it try and do the entire list. I'm gonna go ahead and save that. Since it doesn't say, they almost always start with MD5. It's a very, very common hashing algorithm. It's the easy algorithm. It's the gymnasium. It's going to be an easy one. All right, so I've got that. It talked about the RockU word list. That is built into the operating system already. But you got to know where it's located. Because since in Linux you do a lot of things at the command line, you've got to point to where items are specifically within the file structure. So you better know where it is. So let's go into the file system. I'm going to go into the user bin. I went to the wrong place. Okay. So when all else fails, off screen, I'm looking up word lists located in Kali. I was close. Not bin. Bins are applications. Share. So USR/share/word lists. And here are all of the word lists that are already built into the Kali into the Kali Linux distribution. And so here are a variety of folders for specific applications. But right here is the rocku.txt.gz file. So the RockU word list is here already, but it's zipped, or gun zipped in this case, or gzipped. So I can try to extract it. But I don't have permission. How do you do that within the GUI? That's a legitimate question because I always have to go to command line.
Yeah, I say I don't know how to. I know how to do it in command line.
Yeah. So since it doesn't want to allow me to extract the file with this login, I need to be able to run this at the super user level. So, excuse me. So I'm going to actually go up a folder, right click on that word list folder and tell it to open, open terminal here. I could have opened up a command prompt. I could have used the CD command and gone into this folder and then into that folder and so on and so on. But it's easier just to right click and say, open the terminal here. All right. So just to verify that I'm in the correct location, I want to see the contents of this folder. What command do I use? Nope.
That's pretty.
Nope. Both of those will pull information from files. I just want a list of what's present. You know, to show the contents of a directory.
Oh,
LS. And so it shows me.
and this is something.
It's just,
GIR.
yeah,
LS.
yeah, exactly. It's just syntax. So here's that Rocky word list that I wanted. Sudo. It's been a while since I've gun zipped and I don't remember the, so you got to use particular switches or arguments. So I'm looking up the syntax real quick, just to make sure that I get it right. Let's just try that. So, unzip dash F. Now, if you've not used Linux before, it has tab completion where if once you have enough characters typed in where it recognizes that as a unique thing in the folder, I can just hit tab and it'll fill out the rest of it for me. All right, so it's done. Let's see if that actually did what I hoped. So I'm going to LS again. And so instead of that GZ, I now have a rocku.txt. So it extracted it and got rid of the zipped one. So what you need to remember now is the location of this file. /usr/shares/share/word lists. Yes.
The red, among other things, always stand for zip file.
A compressed file. All right. So. Okay. Actually, I think I can probably do it from here. So let me pull up. So I want to use the word list to try and crack the password. And I'm pulling up. No. So I'm pulling up this to show, just as a way of showing you some of the syntax. And it just so happens it's dealing with you, showing how to use that Rocky word list. So we're going to use hashcat. We're going to tell it the type of attack, in this case, a dictionary attack. And so that would be the dash lowercase a space 0. The hashing algorithm that is used, as I mentioned, I am assuming it's the MD5 algorithm that is the most common, the most basic hashing algorithm. And unless they tell me otherwise, that's always going to be my first choice.
I'm gonna use like different ones to be seen used.
Or 5. But every year they do something a little bit different when it comes to the actual competition. So I will be learning and discovering along with everybody else. All right. So there's so the algorithm, the attack type. Where do you want me to put the file, or where do you want me to put the passwords after I've cracked it so that there's a file of it? So that's where the dash lowercase o followed by the output file. I'm going to go ahead and create an output file just to be safe. Theoretically, when I put it in the command line, if there wasn't a file there already, it should create it and populate it. But I'm paranoid. It doesn't always, things don't always work the way they're supposed to. So I try to pre-create output files.
Do I just try to rewrite the output then? Sometimes is that like what always doesn't work? Is redirecting it?
No, I don't know why it doesn't work. Yeah. And then the input file, in this case, I put it crack1 as the input file that has the hashes in it. And then the word list. So using this syntax right here, I'm going to do the same thing, but within Kali. So let me move that off screen. So I'm going to do hash. I'm going to start by putting in hashcat. I'm going to do dash M, excuse me, dash M 0, since I'm doing the MD5. So another clue that MD5 is common. The hashing algorithms, they start numbering them at 0. Well, the most common one is the first one. And in the tech world, where do we usually start counting? We don't usually start counting at 1. We usually start counting at 0. So there's that. And then the attack type, dash lowercase a, dictionary, so 0. Oh, I want to, again, you know what? I'm not gonna create the file. I'm just curious to see whether it'll create the output file for me like it should. I know. I normally wouldn't, but I
think it renames as 1.
It'll name it if I specify, it'll name it what I specify.
No, I mean by default, 1, I think.
So I'm gonna dash lowercase o. Now, I've got to tell it where to go. If I don't, it's going to put it in the folder where I execute the command. And I don't really want it here. I want it on the desktop. But I don't know the path to the desktop necessarily. So, easiest way, I'm going to go to this file that's on the desktop, go to properties, and here's the file path right there. So I'm just going to copy that. Paste that in, slash, and give it the name crack1 out for output.txt. No, not yet. I haven't executed.
Oh, I didn't know if you were going to try without a file.
Nah. If I did, it would show up on the screen.
Oh.
And then
Shove it to SD out.
I've got to tell it where the word list is, since I told it was going to be a dictionary attack. So /usr/share/word lists. And then the name of the file. Rocky.txt. And that should be it. This is annoying. Running Hashcat within a virtual machine it sometimes complains. Actually, I'm gonna break. I'm gonna add an argument. I think it's dash force. No. Oh, come on. Maybe 2 dashes. Oh, it still doesn't like it. Your virtual Hashcat loves to use a GPU because it's faster. A virtual machine has no GPU, even though the physical computer has a GPU.
Yeah.
But that's virtualized by the virtual machine doesn't speak directly to hardware, so it doesn't realize that there's actually a GPU available. I kind of am doing this on purpose to show doing it manually sucks. If I download and put Hashcat on my Windows machine, it would work properly there because Windows is installed bare metal on the hard drive. It has full access to the hardware. It should work. Or I can save myself some of the hassle. Now we'll need to use Hashcat for some other things. And we're only going to get through this first challenge today. But I'm going to copy that first password hash. I'm going to go to my list of tools. And I'm going to start with MD5 online. And I'm going to paste in that hash and hit enter. And lo and behold, Emily Biffle is the password. And how fast was that compared to all of those things that I was trying to do in order to get this done within Kali? There are times when you absolutely need to use it because these online sites don't have the hashes for everything. And so when they don't, you've got to be able to go back and do it manually. But you always start here and see if it picks it up quickly. So put that in. Ah, crap. You ever do things you know you shouldn't hit enter and your fingers just, you can't stop it? Yep. Copy. Yeah. My accuracy suffers in the competition now. Gymnasium. So, take a few minutes, get the rest of these passwords. And I'm going to do the same up here. If you've got it done, great. This is the only, since it's almost 4:30 already, this will be the only one that I do today. But I wanted to spend time showing Kali, going through the process of using the syntax. If I really wanted to get it to work within the virtual machine, I know that there's a way around the error that I was being given. I don't remember it off the top of my head. I would have had to go online and,
I think it's dash Q.
Dash Q. So there are ways of getting around some of the problems that you run into with the virtual machine. But again, I'm more interested in doing it quickly at this point. And so,
saying that there was no GPU.
yeah, that's where the force comes in, though, I thought.
Ain't that fine?
No?
Because it'll always look for GPU unless you specifically specify who owns.
Okay.
I've never had to. That's not.
Well, and if you're doing it bare metal. Oh, okay. So here's the thing. If you want to do this bare metal, and I've already said, yeah, Kali is not a good daily use operating system. Then what you do is you download the ISO for Kali. You use Rufus or some other flash drive utility to create a bootable flash drive from that Kali ISO, and you boot your laptop to that. When you boot to the flash drive, the operating system that loads up has direct access to the hardware, including your GPU, and so the things will work properly. Now, if a particular hash doesn't work on the website that you've tried it on, then you go to the next site on the list, and so on and so on. If you can't get it to work on any of the sites, that's when you go back to doing it manually.
I grabbed
Yeah, I'm not sure. I couldn't. But it damn near all the sites.
There are some that you have to do a little bit with that we'll talk about next time. So I don't remember. Actually, I'm going to copy out the last three. What I don't remember is if I have. I don't remember my schedule for tomorrow.
In PCH, if it's wrong, saying it would be land, you should have better. So both between.
So unfortunately, Friday, I've got a college thing that I expected to be at. I'd love to find an excuse to get out of it, but it's one of those, no, it's a command performance. I got to be there. So tomorrow at 3 o'clock, I will be in here. So let me see. Yeah, I think Crack Station is no longer available from that list of places, unfortunately, because it was a pretty good site. So I pasted 3 of them and it did them all instead of doing them one at a time. Because again, it's about the speed. Now, do you think these websites are going through and doing it manually? No, they're using a rainbow table to figure out what the hashes are, or to compare the hashes that you're providing. Oops. Oh, here's a thing to be careful of. So I put them in the order that's right here. That doesn't mean the output is in the same order. So, and I know this from experience and having been caught. So the hash that begins with 32 is Joybird 1. So let me go back here. Yes, it happens to be in the same order. But it's not always. So you just have to be careful. Even when you're doing it manually, you still have to be careful of that. Circles 22. Okay. All right. So questions about what we did. All right. So tomorrow we'll do more password cracking. All right. Well, thank you very much, Derek, online. Yeah, this will be up again tomorrow if you can join us. So thank you all, and that's all for today.
I wish it was longer today.